I'm Rachel Braunstein, and this is Hacking the Future with Microsoft Partner Network. In this new series, we're here to help you future-proof your business.
Buyers don't want to engage with salespeople until they're much later into their purchase process. We all now know buying has changed and the buyer has changed. Marketing has been adapting and adjusting, and they've become more metrics driven. They've incorporated automation, leveraging data for segmentation and personalization, really looking at revenue marketing and tying marketing spend to pipeline and revenue, going digital, going social. But sales really hasn't adapted to the level at which buying has changed. I'm not selling. I'm serving and helping. I'm collaborating, connecting, and sharing. That's the modern sales professional.
From blockchain to social selling, we're exploring how technology is reshaping business as we know it.
All right, Jill, so we're here this week at Microsoft Inspire. There is a lot of amazing announcements being made. We just heard from Satya Nadella on the stage. We had an amazing display from Melissa Taylor, Microsoft 365, Dynamics, and LinkedIn. Jill, who are you? What's your story a little bit? And let's talk a little bit about this sales thing that's happening.
Yeah, Rachel, I am really excited to be at Microsoft Inspire, and I tweeted during Satya's keynote this morning, he said social selling. And I lit up. I was giddy to have Satya say social selling and really note the importance of the way that sales needs to transform. I'm Jill Rowley. I am a sales professional. I'm a sales professional trapped in a marketer's body. And today, the lines between sales and marketing are blurring, and the roles are blending. And what that requires is marketing to know more about sales as they're going deeper into the buying process, and then also responsible for the overall customer experience, which includes customer success and customer advocacy. So marketing is getting closer to the customer and also closer to revenue. Sales needs to know more about marketing, because sales has to be visible and relevant and valuable in the early stage of the buying process, where buyers are avoiding actually having conversations or face-to-face meetings with salespeople. The data from Forrester shows that buyers don't want to engage with salespeople until they're much later into their purchase process. They're purposefully avoiding engaging with salespeople until they're much later. So what I talk about is we all now know buying has changed and the buyer has changed. Marketing has been adapting and adjusting, and they've become more metrics driven. They've incorporated automation, leveraging data for segmentation and personalization, really looking at revenue marketing and tying marketing spend to pipeline and revenue, going digital, going social. But sales really hasn't adapted to the level at which buying has changed.
So let's talk a little bit about how has buying changed? I mean, there's some really interesting reports out there. You've talked about what's happening.
Right. So primarily digital. The buyer can go to the internet and search on anything: cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, business productivity, and find all sorts of rich information about those topic areas. And they can download ebooks and white papers, infographics, watch videos, listen to podcasts, all without ever engaging with a sales professional. And the buyer prefers that method of self-education because the fear is that if they engage with sales, the salesperson's going to be ABC, always be closing. When the buyer is in that still becoming aware of the issue, becoming aware of different ways to address the issue, becoming aware of the vendors that can actually help solve those problems, becoming aware of their peers who have solved similar problems. That's another big area, is that buyers now have so much greater access to their peers and their colleagues via a LinkedIn search, right? Like, I know who in my network has implemented Marketo. I don't have to call a Marketo salesperson to learn about the company, the product, and the success or the failures. I can go to my peers in my network. So I say salespeople are being replaced by search engines and social networks, and they can slow down that train by adapting their mindset of stop selling, start serving, and helping the buyer, their skill set of digital and social presence and participation, and the enabling toolkit that they use around productivity, around insights, around data-driven decisions that even sales professionals need to use.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still about human interaction though, right?
100%.
And as you say, it's not selling, it's connecting.
It's connecting, it's collaborating, it's curating. I say that I'm an insatiable learner. I'm also a passionate teacher. And the more I help someone become aware and ready to solve a problem or take hold of an opportunity, the more that I'm the source of that knowledge and inspiration and data to back up why they should move forward with a certain project or initiative, the more that I'm the source of that, the more likely that person is going to do business with me.
Right.
I'm not selling. I'm serving and helping. I'm collaborating, connecting, and sharing. That's the modern sales professional.
So what do you think, for partners or businesses that are listening, what are they doing wrong? What are they doing wrong, and then what can we start to do?
Yeah, well, first is those who are still running businesses based on gut and instinct versus data and analytics. You have to start incorporating data into your decisions. A very simple area to look at is territory assignment. A lot of companies are still very traditional in allocating territory based on geography, zip code. And the thing about social networks is they know no geographic boundaries, nor they're not limited by time zones. And so we don't need to allocate territory based on geographic proximity when buyers are not as willing to take face-to-face meetings because their time is precious. It doesn't mean that they're not going to take face-to-face meetings. And believe me, Rachel, if I can get a face-to-face meeting, I will take that all day, every day, because you really can develop a much more meaningful relationship.
Always.
Looking someone in the eye, right? They'll share more. They'll open up more. Second to that would be a video meeting.
I was going to say, video conferencing.
And I'm getting more comfortable with doing video when I haven't showered and my hair's in a ponytail.
I've had some recent LinkedIn video culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always.
Yep.
Video's always on.
Yep.
I know Jeremy Epstein, that's going to be on our podcast. When we did our prep call, he's like, my policy, you got to have video on. And it's kind of awkward, but I like the forcing. I like that people are forcing it.
Absolutely.
It makes you listen.
Well, and you don't multitask.
You don't multitask.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
And it's like, if you have to do something while you're on the phone with somebody, you probably shouldn't even be on that call.
Exactly. And I'm a natural multitasker.
I know. We all are.
So it really is good that it forces me to only do one thing and to really pay attention. Now, I might have my mobile device where if I hear a new name in a conversation, if someone's mentioned, I'm going right to LinkedIn because I need to get the context of who that person is. And I'm looking for dots. I'm a dot connector, right? So I'm looking to see what do I have in common with that person who was just mentioned as a potential significant party in a project. I literally don't hear a name now without mentally seeing myself type the name into LinkedIn. It's that ingrained in me. And the reason I talk about the difference between social media for marketing, and it's about reach, social networking, social networks are for salespeople to build relationships. And social networks like LinkedIn and Twitter give me three primary things as a sales professional. Insight into your identity. Who Rachel is. #LadyBoss. Where she's worked, what your skills are, what your experience has been, where you live, where you went to university. So one, insight into whatever I just said. Two, it gives me an understanding of relationships. Who are our mutual connections? Even what groups do we have in common? And then are there like type people that we follow on Twitter? So I'm understanding some relationship type data. And then three is really your interests, right? So I know that you're very interested in partner ecosystem. I know that you are interested in Microsoft. So I'm really starting to understand not only like who you are, but who we have in common, who we know in common, and what you like, what makes you tick. That looking at social through the lens of a network, that rather than looking at social through the lens of media, is how salespeople and sales leaders need to look at social.
Talk a little bit more about sales leadership. And you talk a lot that there's some big changes that need to happen in sales leadership.
A lot.
Yeah.
And so when I think about the multi-generational workforce, right, and a lot is being research is being done and reports are being written and data is being shared about reps and what is the modern sales rep look like and what kind of characteristics and competencies and activities do modern salespeople need to be doing. And that data is coming out and it's great. Gartner and Forrester, Mary Shea at Forrester, if you're not following her, she's an incredible analyst and she has incredible information about this modern sales professional. What I don't see enough of is what does the modern sales leader, and the average sales leader is probably early to late 50s, right? Been doing things pre-internet, pre-digital, pre-social networks, pre-mobile for decades, doing things in a very analog, gut and instinct type way. And I compare that to the modern CMO. And because I mentioned earlier, I'm a sales professional trapped in a marketer's body, the marketer's body relates to the fact that my buyer, when I was in sales, was marketing for 10 years. So I know marketing almost as well as I know selling, right? So we've been watching marketing evolve and adapt and change and transform because they had to first, right? That top of the funnel, marketing has had to evolve and adapt and change, and they have. But sales, it's been slower.
Right.
And when I look at marketing and all the resources they have to become modern marketers, CMO clubs, events all over for marketing. Even Deloitte has a CMO university. And I look for the similar type resources for sales leaders, and I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So where do you go to learn how to be a data-driven, a collaborative and ecosystem-minded sales leader. There aren't enough resources for sales leaders.
So what do we do?
We have to build it.
We have to build it.
We have to build it. So I was so excited. Evanta is a company. They're an events company.
Yeah.
And they've been in the events business for, 2 decades. And they've been hosting events for CIOs and chief data officers and CFOs and even chief marketing officers. And they were acquired by a company called CEB, another research analyst consulting firm. And CEB has a massive practice around sales and marketing. They're the authors of the Challenger Sale and the Challenger Customer. And when they bought Evanta, they kicked off a Chief Sales Officer Executive Summit series. CEB's now been acquired by Gartner, which what I hope happens is the need is being identified for Chief Sales Officer learning and networking and sharing and collaborating with their peers. But I also see a massive opportunity for companies like Microsoft who have a huge advantage and a reason to be part of educating that next generation of sales leaders. I definitely think we're going to see more of the technology providers realize that true change and transformation, like Satya says, doesn't just come from the technology, right? It's Microsoft celebrates the success that their customers achieve leveraging the technology, not the technology in and of itself, but they can't achieve that success if they don't learn how to structure, how to organize, how to scale, how to operationalize a modern, a modern sales organization.
So with everything you're saying, I can't help but think about Dynamics 365 and Sales Navigator, the new SKU that is officially available. It really unlocks a whole new world. What do you think?
I think it's such a great opportunity for partners to embed themselves further into their customer accounts and also open doors at new companies for them. Dynamics 365 plus LinkedIn and ultimately plus Office and Outlook is a game changer. After Satya's keynote this morning, there was a session down on the partner floor about relationship sales, this new offering, this combined offering, which is just, it's magnificent. It really is incredible. In really looking at what does the sales professional need to find their buyers, to listen and relate to their buyers, to connect and engage with their buyers. And it is proactively feeding sales professionals insights in a timely way in the world in which the sales professional already works. And the integration between LinkedIn and Dynamics is saving salespeople time, not having to log copy-paste activities into the CRM. And therefore, it's also allowing sales managers to have greater visibility into the health of a single relationship between a rep and a buyer, but more collectively, the health of an opportunity at an account level. So I think that relationship sales and the way that those two products and ultimately Outlook will be combined is truly a game changer. And when Satya said social selling on the main stage keynote floor, that product offering delivers on the promise of social selling.
Yeah. And the other part that's really awesome is Point Drive.
I can use Point Drive. And I always say a fool with a tool is still a fool, which I'm really encouraging to take training on any new product or tool that a salesperson gets or even a human gets, right? Like, to be great at PowerPoint, I really need to invest in some training around it because there's so much functionality. But Point Drive, I'll admit, I started building Point Drive without ever taking any training, and it was incredibly simple. And it's the idea that now buyers binge on content, very much like Netflix, and we're binging on our shows. They're binging on content. And so a sales professional can create a content board, and it can have a PowerPoint, it can have a link to a video, it can have a white paper or an ebook, and it can have all sorts of different pieces of content that the buyer needs and needs to share internally, because what happens is buying is done by committee. And the buying committee is getting bigger. There are more people with different stakeholder perspectives involved in a purchase decision. And so that requires more content to help serve those different stakeholder perspectives. And for a salesperson to not have to go to marketing, to be able to do this on her own, to create a content board, and then have the analytics to know who's viewing what content and what content is resonating. Point Drive embedded into LinkedIn Sales Navigator, bada boom. Bada bing.
Okay, so, what is something that I think is really important is the cultural effects. And what you're talking about, and us as Microsoft, we're going through this right now. A lot of shifts in our sales teams and restructuring of the new One Commercial partner organization. And so what's your kind of take on the cultural effects and how, as you transform your sales and you enable them, how do you kind of be mindful of that too?
Culture is number one in digital transformation. So digital transformation at the broadest sense is really a new way to think and a new way to work. Digital transformation requires cultural change. It requires talent investment. It requires technology, and it requires an ecosystem approach. We don't have time to go in depth into each of those areas, but culture and talent, the type of professional who will be successful in today's environment is someone who is much more collaborative and partner friendly, right? So when I was a rep selling technology, I never sold alone, because I know that my buyer has different components of a solution already in place in their environment. And I need to be able to tie into what they've already invested in. I can't expect to go in and fully replace everything that they've previously invested in. And so I need to be able to understand what investments they've already made and who they already work with. Who do they already trust? Like, are they working with a big systems integrator? Are they using a technology that mine needs to integrate with? So this culture of transparency, authenticity is really important, because if what you say to a buyer doesn't match up to what you have in a digital format, or conversely, if on your, let's say, LinkedIn profile, you write about yourself as being customer-centered, centric, and obsessed, and that you're passionate about helping customers solve business problems and achieve better business results, but you show up as a pushy, selly, always be closing salesperson, there's a mismatch.
Right.
So that authenticity earns trust, and trust is increasingly more important. And buyers, the reality is, are trusting their peers, their colleagues, more and more, and they're having more access to them. And so if salespeople if they're not able to earn that trust online before the sales conversation begins, the sales conversation might not ever begin. So leadership, the older generation who less digitally savvy, less socially native, they need to embrace this, because we're not going to go backwards in our analog digital. We're not going to go digital back to analog in terms of digital is here to stay, social is here to stay. Again, it complements meeting face-to-face, but we're not going to get less digital, and we're not going to get less social. So sales leaders need to adjust culturally.
So if you said so many great tidbits here, but if a partner's going to walk away with a few things, what do you think is the most important for them, Jill?
I think continuous learning, right? There's so much happening at such an accelerated pace. It's no longer linear. The change is no longer linear. It's exponential. And it's really important to keep pace. And so literally every day I will listen to a podcast or two or three. When I go to the gym, I'm listening to podcasts. I'll watch videos. I'll read blogs. And I continue to connect with new people, because if I'm trying to learn about artificial intelligence, I'm going to go figure out who are the smarty pants people in the artificial intelligence space, and I'm going to start to follow them on Twitter. I'm going to send personalized and relevant invites to connect with them on LinkedIn, so that content around that topic of artificial intelligence starts to appear in my daily news feed, right? So I don't always have to go out and go get the learning. It's coming to me because of the network that I'm building. So I would say you've got to get current, and then you have to stay current by continuous learning. And you need to breed that culture into your sales organization. I would say also, from a sales leadership perspective, more isn't more better. And more better isn't grammatically correct, but I say it intentionally. More salespeople making more cold calls and sending more unsolicited emails is not more better. Mm-hmm. And I think an area to explore is sales enablement. And the idea of sales enablement is you're making the salespeople you have more efficient and more effective. So you're starting to think about productivity as a lever for growth rather than just simply hiring more headcount.
Right.
Sales enablement, if you're not investing today, or if you think sales enablement is just sales training, or if you think it's just marketing, creating content for your salespeople, and you're not thinking about sales enablement as a strategic investment to better connect marketing and sales to each other, but also to connect marketing and sales to, with, for, and around the customer and the customer journey, there's a missed opportunity there. So I would invest significantly in sales enablement. I would think holistically around what is the mindset of my sales organization, what's the skill set, and what are the tools they need to be the most efficient and effective to be able to sell the way that customers want to buy.
I hope you're all listening, but thank you so much, Jill, for being here. You can follow Jill on Twitter.
At Jill_Rowley, Rowley.
And of course, follow her on LinkedIn. She's got a great following on LinkedIn. But thanks again for being here.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks for listening to Hacking the Future with me, your host, Rachel Braunstein. You can follow me on Twitter at RKBraunstein and follow us at MS Partner. Check out our show notes for more information from today's episode. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review.